you're getting to see my face 2 days in a row. How lucky are you? I'm totally kidding. So today, Alaina went to daycare, and I said that I was going to record on Tuesdays and Thursdays, so I figured I would just start today. I've wanted to record this video for a while, so I figured today was kind of a good opportunity to just not get it out of the way, but just get it done so that I can move forward next week. So today I want to just kind of document and talk about my pregnancy experience and like my birth story, I guess. Just to have potentially in the future to look back on if I ever have another kid. Angel and I are planning to have more, but not anytime soon. Like, we have some other goals that we want to check off our list, like buy a house, and I start grad school in the fall. So there's a couple other things going on. But I do want Alaina to have a sibling for sure. And hopefully somewhere close in age so that they can still play. Alaina loves playing with her cousins, like absolutely loves it. She like tries to climb up on them and hug them and kiss them, and she's obsessed with other children. So definitely in the future, but not anytime right now. So I guess I'll just start at the beginning. So Angel and I had been trying to have a child for like a year. Like when we got married, I stopped taking birth control, and like I was fine for a couple months. And then it was like at the beginning of 2018, my body like shut off. Like I stopped like having cycles, and like I gained 20 pounds. Like all these symptoms started happening to me. So I went to the OBGYN, they did some tests, and I found out I have PCOS. So when I found out I had PCOS, he started me on this medicine called progesterone, I think was the medicine. Basically, it just makes you have a cycle. So I started taking that for a few months, and that didn't help. And then we like basically stopped trying. I was like going to the OBGYN all the time. I was getting my blood drawn. I was getting tests done. I was having sonograms on my ovaries, and it was like a little bit of a mess. Nothing like people that go through IVF or in vitro. Like it was nothing like that at all. I don't want to like act like I had this horrible experience, because I didn't. But I was just trying to take care of my body and like do what I needed to do in order to get pregnant. So then in September, we got pregnant, and it was like a week later I miscarried. It was like not even a full week. It was like a few days. Like I found out I was pregnant, and a few days later I miscarried. And so then I had like decided like I'm done. I need a break. Like I'm done for a while. And then of course that's when it happens, right? So, and then in November I was pregnant again. So I didn't even know I was pregnant until the day of like Christmas break, like when school gets out for Christmas break. I got some adult beverage gifts from a friend, from a coworker. She kind of like left it on my car, like at the end of the day. So I went home and I made myself a drink, and I drank it, and I got sick. Like I was like miserable. And then the next day I had like really bad heartburn, and I realized I had heartburn for like a week or two. And so then I was like, when was I supposed to start my period? And then I was like, wait a minute. When was I? Like that was supposed to be a while ago. So then I took a test, and sure enough I was pregnant. But once you've had a miscarriage, like I didn't really get my hopes up. I was just like, oh well, whatever that means. And it's kind of sad, even the way I told Angel. The first time I was pregnant, I like went to Hobby Lobby and got these iron-on letters and like made a dad shirt and like left it with like the test. And then the second time we were literally in the fucking liquor store parking lot, and he was like, do you want anything? And I was like, no. And he's like, are you sure? I was like, yeah. And then he came back into the car, like after buying his stuff, and I was like, I'm pregnant, so I don't know what that means. Like that's how I told Angel I was pregnant with Alaina. But like, again, my mind was like, I had already decided that we weren't going to have a kid yet. And like, it just wasn't the right time. And, so my mental space was just not like in the excited mode yet. So, yeah, I got pregnant. I was already like 6 weeks. So it was only like 2 weeks to my first appointment. When I first heard that little heartbeat, I was like, it like really hit me. So yeah, then I pretty much had a smooth pregnancy the whole time. No major complications. At the 20-week sonogram, they thought that they saw some shadows on her heart. So they had us come back at 24 weeks, but that ended up checking out just fine. I had a little bit of high blood pressure, like 130 over 90. It wasn't anything serious. I never got put on medication for it, but they did list me as like high risk, also just because I'm a plus size person. I think they automatically put you at higher risk if you are. But no, I had a great pregnancy. Everything went smooth. I will say the whole pregnancy, because of like a little bit of high blood pressure and me being like overweight, they kept basically the whole time. They told me like, you're probably going to be induced like a little bit early. Like, we were looking at earlier dates. My due date was August 22nd, but we were already looking at like early August to deliver, like even in the beginning of my pregnancy. So I already knew I was going to be induced. So yeah, I really had a smooth pregnancy. Nothing crazy, no complications. I felt like really amazing up until like you hit like the 32, 34 week mark and you're like, all right, we're done. But yeah, I went to 37 weeks and I was actually like 38 weeks the day she was born. And so we went into the hospital on a Tuesday night for me to be induced around like 7. I had a Foley tube, which is like, if you're a dude and you don't have kids, this may be where you like, okay, Alex, thank you, bye. Cause it's birth, okay? Like, this is your warning, like back out now. So I got a Foley tube, which is just like a little tube and they like fill this balloon up to help you basically start to have labor and start to dilate. So they didn't give me any meds Tuesday night at all. So I like naturally labored with the Foley tube all night. They had me hooked up to like IV, like just an IV drip, but it wasn't meds. They gave me Tylenol, like 2 Tylenol, which did nothing. So I was like in labor all night. And so when I went into the hospital, I was like not dilated. Like my body was not ready to give birth. Like had I been natural, like I was not dilated. I was like 50% efface. Like it was not even close. So from 7 p.m. when they did the Foley tube until about, I'd say it was like 6, 7 in the morning. When the doctor came in, I went from a 0 basically to like a 5. So all night I like labored naturally from that, and that sucked. I was like shaking, like, you know, when you like have a lot of pain and you're like, ah. And Angel was like passed out on the little cot next to me the whole time. So that was a fun night. And then at 6 they came and checked me and they were like, okay, you're at like a 5. And so they planned to break my water at like 8. So they came in, they broke my water, and all of that went fine. And then from like 8 till noon, they came back and checked me at noon. I went from like a 5. He was like, you might be at a 6, like maybe. And then from noon till 6 o'clock, let me rewind. At noon, when he checked me, I was still at like a 5 or a 6. So I had like gone all morning and like not, you know what I mean? And I still hadn't had any meds, like none. So I was starting to get a little bit uncomfortable because I was at like a 5 or a 6 and I had been there like for a while. So the contractions were not super, super bad. It was nothing that I was like, but like if people were talking to me, I'd be like, like I kind of had to like breathe through them, if that makes sense. So at 12, the doctor recommended that I get an epidural because we had already broke my water. And he was like, sometimes if you get an epidural, it can help like just relax you and help things progress. So I already knew I wanted an epidural. So I was like, cool, fine. Totally down for that. That was the weirdest experience I've ever had in my whole life. Ever. Okay. When they put the needle in your back, you hear it like crunch through your spinal cord. Like it's like, I don't even know how to explain it, but you're like sitting there trying to be still so that you're not permanently paralyzed. And then you just feel this like, and then this like cool liquid like goes down your legs. It's the weirdest thing that has ever happened to me. But, and then they have to like, ouch, I just got a splinter. They have to like adjust it to make sure that it's like even on both sides. And he was like moving it a little bit to the right, and my right leg like involuntary like kicked. And so like I kicked Angel. So yeah, that was a fun experience. The epidural was interesting, but I'm so glad I got it because things went crazy from there. So I get the epidural round. By the time the doctor came, it was like 1:32. And then they gave me like this peanut thing. You guys may have heard of it. It's like literally this big orange peanut. And you like put it in between your legs to try to help like open things up and to help things relax. So I literally laid with that thing for like hours. Did nothing. The doctor came back in at like 6 o'clock to check me. I was still at a 6. Nothing had changed. So basically at that point he was like, okay, well we can wait or we can just do your C-section and get this done because we've already broke your water. So like the baby can't be in there much longer, like without fluid. So, at that point it was just kind of like, what is the best decision? And I remember feeling like I didn't want to wait and like cause danger to Alaina, but like I was also like really sad that like I wasn't progressing. But I also knew in my brain, like they've been upping your Pitocin all day. Like they've done everything that they could to try to, like the nurse was coming in and like rotating me. Like they had done everything they could do to like try to progress me. And because I was induced and because I wasn't even dilated like to begin with, I basically just knew like she's not ready to come out. Like that's why this is not happening. So I just felt in my heart that like if I had waited, like the outcome wouldn't have changed. Like I still would have had to have a C-section. So I just went ahead and decided to have a C-section. So Angel like suits up. They come give me more meds to like numb you up higher. They take me back into the ER, like, or the surgery, C-section area, whatever. And this is where shit gets real. So if you're still here after 13 minutes, lucky you, this is the fun part. So I'm laying there, you know, arms spread, like looking up, and they're like prepping me for surgery. And Angel comes into the room all suited up and like, we're ready to go, right? Like I've got a room full of nurses, the doctor's there, and like they are ready to get this baby out. Like everything is good. The anesthesiologist is like giving me more meds. I'm all numbed up. Like when I'm telling you I was about to get a C-section, I was about to get a C-section. And then all of a sudden, my entire room of nurses and doctors runs out of my room because I guess somebody else needed an emergency C-section and was like dying. So they all like run out to go like save this other person. And I'm not kidding you. I'm laying there prepped for a fucking C-section, drugged up, like waiting for like 30 minutes. And then what makes the story even crazier, like it was just me, the anesthesiologist, Angel, and one other nurse. And we were all just like in there kicking it, like chilling, laughing, talking, just hanging out, like waiting for everybody to come back to do my C-section because mine wasn't like an emergency. So yeah, that was a little scary because you're just laying there waiting. And so then I asked the anesthesiologist, I was like, so am I going to feel more because I've been laying here like waiting? Like you had already given me meds and now I'm laying here like waiting to have this done. And he goes, well, oh, he should not have responded this way. He goes, well, this isn't normally something we really practice. He was like, so I don't really know. He was like, I'll just give you half, like another dose, like half of another dose. And then if you feel something, just let me know. Like you were about to cut me open and pull out my intestines to get this baby out. Like, what are you talking about? So anyway, again, what makes this even crazier is that the doctor came in at like 6 and told me I needed a C-section. Shift changes at 7. So I got rolled in to go have my C-section around 6:30. I was like the last C-section of the night, you know what I'm saying? And so then they had to run out and go do this emergency C-sections, which means when everybody came back, it was all new nurses. I got all new nurses, a new anesthesiologist who did not give me the initial pain meds. So they talk, like the anesthesiologists talk to each other, thank God, and I didn't die. But yeah, so I get a new anesthesiologist and she's like, well, okay, I'm just going to give you half. And if you feel anything, let me know. So yeah, it's like 7 o'clock now. I have a new room full of nurses. We start the C-section. Everything goes fine. Alaina's born. Alaina did not cry, like barely. She was like, eh. And then silent. Like to the point where me and Angel was like, is she good? Like, is everything fine? Like, is there something you're not telling us? The C-section itself wasn't that painful. Like, just like everybody says, like you feel pressure, you feel them pulling, but like it's not pain. Until he started like the process of stitching me back up and my medicine started to wear off and I started to feel things and I started to feel pain. Like you're numb, like about up to here. So when I started to feel pain, it was up here and I felt like I was going to have a heart attack. Like, because the body does weird things, but the pain was like being displaced because part of me was still numb, but it was like going away. And so I like felt the pain initially like in my chest and I was like, whoa. I also forgot to mention, because they had to give me so much medicine, I had the shakes so bad. Like I was like convulsing on the fucking table. Okay. Like, it was just not an ideal experience. Like I feel like had there not been an emergency surgery, it would have been fine. But anyways, they gave me a morphine like straight into my IV and I was fine after that. Obviously, once you get morphine, you're like, I'm good, like do whatever. So there's a picture. Oh, I actually probably have it. Let me find it. I got this groove book printed out. Basically of pictures that I don't like. It's basically of Alaina's birth, like pictures that I didn't share on social media, but that I wanted to like have. So some of them are like me breastfeeding and stuff. I've gone way over, but again, this video is mostly for me to look back on later. So if you're still here, props to you. If you're not, that's okay too. Where is it? Okay. Oh, here it is. There's this picture of me that like, I have no memory of this being taken. Like I was feeling so good on this morphine, y'all. Like I was like, yes, I had a baby. So yeah. Anyway, Groove Book is super cool. It's literally just like a book of photos. Again, it's just stuff that like pictures of Angel's mom and Alaina. Just stuff that like I didn't really share on social media. But you can get a free book with my code. It's Carbahol1105. So if you want a free Groove Book, there's my code, Carbahol1105. And if you get a book, then I get another free book. So it's cool. But yeah, that's pretty much my birth story. We stayed in the hospital. So I had her Wednesday night. We stayed in the hospital that night, Thursday night, and I went home Friday afternoon. Like, I was like, get me out of here. Like, as soon as they let me out, the doctor came into my room Friday morning. He was like, how you feeling? And I was like, let's go home. And he was like, okay. And so then they started like doing all the tests that they have to do to make sure me and baby are okay to go. But yeah, then I went home. They gave me some pain meds. I have a pretty high tolerance for pain. I didn't even take the pain meds. I just took 800 milligram ibuprofen and some Tylenol for like 2 weeks. I had to take it for like 2 weeks until I was like really better. But after that, it was all good. Angel got to be home for the first 2 weeks because he was in the middle of a job transition. So that was so helpful. But yeah, that's Alaina's birth, pregnancy, the whole thing. Pretty much. Yeah, but my C-section was insane. And hopefully, I'm going to try to do VBAC, but if I have to have another C-section, let's just hope that it's like a planned C-section with no craziness, because I feel like it would not have been as bad as it was if that hadn't happened. So, yeah. I guess that's all, folks. If you have watched this whole 20 minutes, like, props to you guys. Bye.